What an insane chapter. I know I nearly say that every week, but Oda has been popping off all cylinders in every single way. This chapter, personally, for me, was a great chapter because it proves me wrong on many occasions. I downgraded Kizaru a lot in previous years and in previous reviews, but man, is he's just coming in and actually just being like a James Bond, just tearing up, getting the mission done, just getting what he needs done, getting it sorted. No, no messing around or anything like that. He just gets what he needs done. And that's what I like. I like that about Kizaru, to be honest. He has less energy. He's just like, oh, bro, I'm just going to get what I need done. Forget about anything else. I love that about him, to be honest. And we've got so much more. I've really come to like Kizaru in the past couple chapters because he has this attitude of, man, I'm just trying to get a paycheck. I can't do much, bro. I'm just doing what I'm told. I just want that paycheck at the end of the day. I respect it as well. Obviously, there's a lot going on. But I feel like, in a sense, as well, that gives us a glimpse into how his final fight of the series is going to pay off because he might end up being like, oh, I got to do something this time. So he ends up rebelling. Or he just kind of takes it easy on whoever he's fighting because he's like, well, if you give me a paycheck, I'll sort out. You know what I mean? I could see something like that happen, turning it into a gag because he's the only character where I could see it kind of working that way. But aside from Kizaru, we actually got Akainu doing something in the post time skip era. That was crazy. And on top of that, Mary Joa had took some significant damage for the first time in the series. Maybe I misread that wrong. I'm going to look at the panel again just to make sure. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, he wiped out like a district with his, like, Akuma wiped out a district with his attack. So I don't know if that killed anybody or what happened there. But, like, damn, lads. That we've never seen that before. We're getting to the stage in the series where we're cutting back to Mary Joa and seeing it actually take damage. We're getting near the end of the series when that stuff is happening. Like there's no messing around. The Fleet Admiral's coming in. He's actually doing something. And we see he does damage to Kuma. I don't know where they're going with Kuma because even in this chapter we have Bonnie running to Kizaru and Kizaru's like, weren't you always against Vegapunk? Don't you want me to, don't you want to go with what we're saying here? And Bonnie's like, well, I found out it's someone else. Like, who else is it? Give it to us, Oda. Give it to us. Give us Kuma's backstory. I want to know. Also, everyone keeps calling Bonnie a child, so it's pretty obvious now that Bonnie probably is a kid that used the fruit to age up. I just wonder how young she is, because how young she is changes the entire story in a sense. Because if she's like 10 years old and everything with Kuma started 10 years ago, that's different to if everything with Kuma started 5 years ago, 7 years ago. It all depends on how old she is and what Kuma was involved in. Like if she's if she's like really young, Kuma could have been involved in some crazy stuff and it still would have made sense. So like let's say she's 5 or 7 and she aged herself up, or if she's 10 or whatever, he could still have some involvement with like, Rocks or Roger or Garp or I don't know why I had this thought pop into my head the other day that Kuma might have originally been like an admiral who who was so well respected he got his own kingdom, and then actually with all that information of being an admiral was like the government are screwing up or they did something to his kingdom after they got it, and he was like, this is not okay, and then he joined the revolutionaries, because we need to have that at some point where we have a marine who's so disincentivized by how it's being run and so angry about how it's being run that he switches to the revolutionaries. And I think Kuma would be a good way to do that, right? Especially with his connection with Vegapunk, it would make sense how he's able to get to Vegapunk that easily as well. It all would add up that way. So I think if Bonnie's like 24, like it says she is, right, then he can't really have much involvement and stuff because he would have been taking care of Bonnie. Things would happen much later. Things like that. Story doesn't add up. But everyone keeps calling Bonnie a child, meaning she probably is, and then he can have more involvement and stuff because he wouldn't have had a kid to look after at that stage. But I don't know, to be honest. I feel like Bonnie's gonna be more important, but I personally I don't really care too much about Bonnie right now. I'm more interested in whether she's Katarina Devon. Finally remember the name, or if anything to do with Kuma. I just want to know what's going on with Kuma. Because surely Dragon didn't seem to know anything. I still go back to that panel where Dragon's like really confused. He's like, Kuma, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, so we need to, I just want to know what's up there. Like, what's Dragon going to be doing? How is he going to be handling this situation? I really think it's time for him to rock up on Egghead. Because he doesn't know what's happening with Dragon. He doesn't know what's happening with Kuma, right? He doesn't know any of that. He doesn't know what Kuma is trying to do, but he can go back to Mary Joa. He doesn't want to rush the plan. So where can he go to get answers? Obviously, Egghead. I feel like it's all coming together a little bit, and I'm talking about this so much because it's so important to me to see that, right? Because we're not going to get Mary Joa for at least an arc or two. We're at least getting Elbath. Oda has pushed that so far. We have to get it. You know what I mean? I think Lodestar, we might skip out on Lodestar, I think. I'm starting to think we will. The way I look at it right now is that Lodestar might end up being a part of a bigger arc. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we go there for 2 chapters. And then, like, maybe it's part of the Elbath or the Laugh Tale arc, you know? Like, we spend 5 chapters there, and then whatever that is, because we have all the information already. Like, maybe, what if it happens this way, right? So it turns out everyone else, you're supposed to get to Lodestar, find out about the road poneglyphs, and go back and get the road poneglyphs. But because Luffy and his crew have the road poneglyphs already, they can just go straight from Lodestar to wherever Laugh Tale is, right? And maybe that's like, maybe Lodestar is like the launch in town for Laugh Tale or something. I would love for Laugh Tale to be on the moon. That would be so cool. And like Enel being the king of the pirates. You know, that'd be sick. Him just sitting on his throne like, oh, ha, straw hat, I got you. Fuck, I'm not doing that. Forget that. Don't know, too early in the morning for that. But yeah, you know, Enel being that strong, powerful creature who's gotten to that place before Luffy. I mean, it would kind of ruin the whole, you know, mystique of the whole Pirate King thing. I mean, people are saying Boogie's gonna get it. Boogie definitely will get it for like a second, or he'll sit on the empty throne. I think it might be better if he sits on the empty throne. I think that'd be hilarious. Like if like Luffy's fighting Emu and they conquers Clash, and Boogie just floats, like gets knocked back and floats onto the empty throne or something like that. You know what I mean? I think that'd be sick. I feel like the Boogie gag is just gonna keep going further and further, and I can't wait. I actually can't. But taking that aside, real quick, we were speaking on Kizaru and how I've underplayed him a lot. He's actually competing with Luffy quite strongly. Luffy didn't stand a chance. And that's actually an interesting thing, right? Because that's one thing Luffy is not. Luffy is not that fast. He isn't Snake Man. But in base form, and we don't even know in Gear 5 if he's too fast. I'm trying to think of a speed feat. Because he's just overwhelmed. He overwhelmed Kaido with, with Toon Force and Hockey. But I don't think it was speed. Like, Kaido didn't want to dodge attacks. He wanted to take them straight on. You know, he was like, like even when Luffy was trying to do his Bajrang gun, like, they're doing it now recently, he grabbed onto Kaido and he was like waiting to do the attack, and Kaido was like, I'm not going to run, Straw Hat, you can leave it, right? But Kizaru's not going to do that. Kizaru's going to try and avoid damage and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to approach that. Like, how is Luffy going to fight Kizaru? And this is probably going to be the first fight where we see the side effects of Gear 5. Kizaru might actually be a lot bigger threat than we think he is. Luffy might be taken out of the action. Because once Gear 5 runs out, he's used it like 3 times in the island so far, right? Or like at least twice. So at this point, he's going to probably run out of gas, or we're going to see the proper side effects of Gear 5, and Zoro and Sanji are going to step in, or probably Sanji, because Zoro's taking on Lucci. I think it's interesting for Zoro to have the weaker opponent so far, because I'm not saying I do think right now Sanji's stronger than Zoro, but aside from that, taking that out of the equation, I think Sanji fighting Kizaru makes sense, because Kizaru's obviously strong, but I think his main asset against these really strong opponents are his speed. So if Sanji can match his speed, he might not be as strong as Kizaru, but if he can keep up with Kizaru, he can hold him off longer than both Zoro and Luffy could. So in that sense, right, Kizaru is a counter to those two, but Sanji is a counter to Kizaru. So it works out that way, right? It's like a matchup thing. Because we haven't got those matchups in a while because of hockey, right? But with Logie is you still have to think about those matchups. So I'm very excited to see how that plays out. I also think if Laugh-Tale is on the moon and let's say Enel didn't find it because he's a dumbass, I think that's going to be how they play it, right? And Enel's going to be like, oh, I'm so strong now, Straw Hat. You can't beat me. I've got this mad form of hockey. And then they just attack. And like, maybe their hockey's on similar grounds, but the matchup that Luffy has against Enel is still going to be that important. So I feel like Sanji versus Kizaru seems pretty likely now because we're gonna have. I think we need to see the side effects of Gear 5 on an actual fight. Like it happened against Kaido, but it didn't affect him that much. So we need to see actual side effects. You know what I mean? And we still haven't found out about that Grim Reaper stuff with Zoro. I think this is an interesting thing to find out about because Luigi's not going to talk that much. He's just going to want to get the job done, right? So having Zoro be like speaking with, have his thing in his mouth and be speaking with Enma. He's like, Enma, I need your help. And they like, we had this whole flashback into that moment or something. Something like, it's probably going to be a bit corny. I'm not going to lie. Zoro, since the King of Hell stuff, a wee bit corny. But hey, we like to see it. But that is the thing though, right? And not to undersell Kizaru to say he doesn't have good attack potency, but I do think his speed is his primary attribute, right? But speaking of Gear 5, I realized I didn't punch on that. Giant Luffy just wrecks through the building and grabs onto Kizaru. Like, what the hell? Oda's just having so much fun with this, man. I swear, I hope we see some really interesting attacks now. And probably some really interesting moves. But I do think we need to see those side effects. That's what I'm talking about right now. Because he's going giant. The side effects mainly happen when he goes giant. So we're probably, this is what I'm saying. Luffy's going to be out of action. Sanji's going to have to cover his ass with the speed. This is how it's going to go. I think that's going to happen. Because if that doesn't happen, man, and Gear 5 doesn't have that many side effects, my whole talk about Luffy being weaker than Garp still is bullshit. So I don't want that. You know what I mean? I am excited though. We're getting to see the Admirals do stuff. All three of them doing stuff in this arc. Obviously, Akainu is the least impressive, but he's just sitting around, so he can't really do much. Still though, I feel like the problem with Akainu's feat is we haven't really seen where Kuma places on the totem pole, right? His biggest opponent was like Ivankov in the Summit War, right? So we need to see more from Kuma in terms of the opponents he's faced to put Akainu in a tier of power that we can compare him to. Obviously, he has to be really strong because he's going to be either Sabo or Luffy's opponent. But like, we need that comparison window, which we just don't have right now. Oda is giving us more information, but also more questions as we go on because I'm so confused by where we're going next. Like, how significant is Egghead going to be? It feels significant. We get a whole thing with the robot waking up again because of Joy Boy. So is that robot going to end up being a giant, or is it going to be a robot? Like, what is it going to do? I think Kuma's supposed to be a replica of that robot. I think that was the idea. So maybe he. Oh my god! Wait a minute. Wait a second. Maybe this robot's going to take Kuma's memories and Kuma's going to become that giant robot. That would be insane. Imagine that. That's what they did. That would be crazy. It'd be an unintentional thing because obviously Vegapunk knows nothing about that robot, it seems. But that would be unbelievably crazy. That's how we get Kuma being on the Grand Line, on the Red Line, and also here at the same time because the robot takes up Kuma's memories somehow. And then because they're paralleling each other right now, right? Because that robot attacked Marijoa like 800 years ago, right? Or like how many years ago was it? Was it like 200 years ago? He like just popped up. But like, I think that's gonna be crazy. Do you know what I mean? If we have that going on, where Kuma is here, but he's not. Like he's a different person. He's in a different body now. I think that'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting way to have Kuma around. Because why else have given the ability to take out his memories? Do you know? I think that would be so cool and a really cool way to parallel each other. Like they switch places. That sort of vibe. Oh man, I want that so bad now. That would be so cool. That would actually be so cool. And I still feel like there's gonna be like a big battle royale for Egghead that starts the big war, and the Straw Hats lose and have to leave for Elbath. But then again, if they lose, why would Shanks want to interact with them? Do you know? Well, then he's not gonna be. He's not on the island, is he? He's gone away after he beat up Kid. So maybe Kid comes back for revenge, and Luffy has to fight him on Elbath. But I think Kid's done. Kid has to be done. I feel like Oda understands no one really cares about Kid anymore. Like everyone cares about Law, but like you have to have one of the three of them suffer a major defeat and not come back from it. And I think Kid has to be that guy because Law still has stuff not to check off, right? We never really got invested in Kid. You didn't even give us a full backstory for the man. Whereas Law, we're super invested in. He's interacted with Robin about the history of the D. So we need to see him get to Laugh Tale with Luffy. So he needs to be around. Whereas Kid, really, who cares, right? But it would make sense if Shanks off the island and they go to Elbath and Shanks isn't there, and Kid is attacking the people of Elbath, and he's strong enough. We saw he would do damage if Shanks wasn't there, and Luffy has to basically step in and be that guy. I think that would be an interesting way to take it. It also means I'd be right in a sense, you know, because I made this video about Kid being the villain of Elbath, and you know what? I want it. I want it so bad. I want it so bad. What can I say? Oh man, I don't know. I'm just theorizing off the top of my head because I'm like, that's what I do with these chapters. I don't even talk much about the chapter itself. I just come up with new ideas about what I think is going to happen with the story since this chapter has come out. I don't know if that's interesting or not. It's just what I enjoy doing at the end of the day, right? But let me know what your thoughts are on how this chapter has changed your opinion on what the story's going to do. Do you think Sanji's going to end up fighting Kizaru because Luffy's going to have the effects of Gear 5 hit in? Or do you think Luffy's going to end up realizing the strengths of Gear 5 and how to deal with those side effects? Let me know what you think in the comments. And do you think we're actually going to learn about Enma and all these different things like that? But with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe for more One Piece content from me. And I'll see you all next time. Have a good day.